Right, so I figured since Consortium City is now 6 years old, it might be a nice time to do a tour updating everything that's happened since I believe the last time I did any form of tour or just walk around, it was many, many years ago. So I thought now would be a good time. So we started up here then on 12 21st Street. So Consortium City was made on the 21st of the 12th, so December 21st, 2019, and the first building that we made was this one here, which I've only just noticed a sign on saying it's the first building. I've never seen that before. So this sandstone building was built by Dylan, whose world it is. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I remember when we first built this thinking it was absolutely huge, but just looking around at what we've got now, it's nothing in comparison. So my first building was the building opposite, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. It's been rebuilt 2 times now. This is the 3rd edition. I'm still not 100% happy with how it looks, but the first 2 versions of it just looked... They looked absolutely terrible. But yeah, this was meant to be the cake shop. You can see at some point we've lost the floors. The reason for that is because this originally started out as a Bedrock world, then we moved over to Java on Forge, and then we moved over to Java Fabric, which is the version I'm currently playing on. So the second building here was built on the corner, again by Dylan. So we've had a fair few people contribute to the city over the years. It was really just me and Dylan left towards the end, but we haven't been able to do much for a while since we're both adults who've got jobs. Originally one of our friends built a house like right here, so blocking half of this grey building, and we said to him, build your house miles away, we're building a city. He said, okay. And he came about here. So that was quite amusing. So we right, well we're gonna have to destroy it because we're building a city, and we did warn you. He thought that was annoying, but fair enough. My second building we've got here is this precinct. So this is probably still one of my favourite buildings. Originally, the whole point of this building was it was going to be where we had the map of the city, so you'd go in here, pop down these stairs, and then you had the map here. Originally, the floor was normal here, but the world just got that big. I had to go all the way down, and then even then it was far too big for me to keep in here, so I moved that and we'll have a look later. In here is where all the road names and block names are, so you can see we've got some relatively interesting names. Blackout Block, Pensioner Plaza, East Yorkshire, one of my favourites. Yeah, the names are all quite stupid. And then if we go one floor up here, I don't know, what is this? Oh yeah, an old sign saying how many buildings we had, so that was back in 2020. Which is pretty cool. So if we fly up then, we'll move on to the first, what I'd call big building of the city. This light pink building here. All 3 of these in a row were Dylan's. He started out as a good builder, rather than me, who took a little while to get to that point. So pretty cool. I remember when we built this, we thought, wow, that's so massive compared to the sandstone building. But even then, if we fly up to the top, we've still gone bigger quite a few times. So finally then, next to the cake shop, in terms of like the first few days of building, the first few people who are actually doing buildings in the city, this is Big O's Burgers, built by our friend Ryan. As you can see, it's very nice. What have we got on offer here? Cake better than Mellows. I think that's meant to say Mellows. Veggies, cookies, milk, stew, or pie selection. And then we've got a totally legit kitchen around the side here. As you can see, there is nothing suspect going on at all. So, going this way along the road then, we've got this bridge which has been here for over 6 years. So when we first started building Consortium, this all, as you can see, we are in a water world now. This was a little island here, and this was like the mainland. So we built the bridge to connect the island to the mainland. Then over time, the world just started getting buggier, so we had to switch over versions. Which is when we eventually decided we'd just get rid of all land and have a water world, because that would make building a hell of a lot easier. Because as well, when we first started out on Bedrock, we didn't know that you could use commands, so we made this river manually. There was already like part of a river here, but we made it entirely straight, and a lot deeper, which was pretty cool. And this bridge is basically the same as it's been since, I think it was built in that first week, other than I added this into the middle. So it's meant to be like, it opens up on both sides rather than being a swing bridge. And you can see it also says here 19 feet, and I'm guessing that that is going to be wrong. How many blocks have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's like 19 feet right there. Maybe I should update that sign, but I don't know, maybe we'll leave it since it's so original. We've also got these cars that have been built along here. These were all built by Ryan. As you can see, we've got a very not suspect lorry that's being pulled over by the police, or blocked in by the police. Don't know what's happening there. So next to Dylan's buildings, we've got our friend Freddy's first building, and that is the museum. I won't go inside because there is a lot of sus stuff in there. Even though probably the only people watching this are going to be me. Well, yeah, not even people, just person. So hello future me, but I really just wanted to record the progress. So if anyone else watches, fair enough. But even if it's just me in the future, I just wanted to see what the city looks like. So the second block that we built then, we moved upwards, and this is where we started building out of bones. So we've got the one bone building here, which is pretty basic. We've got a nice quartz building here built by Ryan with this little arch which goes through to the market. We also used to have a snow golem that would go around in this minecart, but as we switched versions and moved over worlds, we lost mobs, unfortunately, so that snow golem's not there anymore. And then probably my favourite building that we've got here, well, not my favourite, but it's still iconic. We've got Drunk Bone. The story from this was that it was New Year, so 12 days after the world was first made, New Year's Eve, Dylan was absolutely shit-faced drunk, and he built this building. He was so drunk he didn't realise that it wasn't a perfect square, so I think this way, what is it, 19, and this way 21, which is why the roof looks the way it does, because he couldn't figure it out. But the best bit about this wasn't the fact that he built it while drunk, it was that the day after he went on the world and started asking who'd built this, and he just had no memory that it was him, which was quite amusing. So opposite here we've got 3 buildings which are not originals, they are remakes of buildings which I first made which looked terrible. This first one had a horrible colour, this second one was too short, and this car park was so bad I can't even describe what was wrong with it. I just had to tear it down and rebuild it. And if I remember rightly, if I go into here, okay, there used to be a sex chair. I'm guessing that was a modded block that got removed. A modded chair. That's not there anymore. That's fair enough. But as you can see, it's a pretty nice looking car park now. Yeah, much better than it was before. A lot more realistic as well in terms of space. Next up, we've got a subway, which is one of the few buildings that has got a bit of an interior. I say a bit of an interior. It very much is a bit of an interior, but it's still pretty nice. Our friend Freddy wanted to build the World Trade Center here, and we were like, mate, there's not space for you to build a twin tower, let alone 2 in this block, so Dylan built this instead. Next to it, we've got this building which I built, and this is probably when I became good at building, because my first building was crap, my second building was a fluke, the next 3 all sucked, and then I built this one. This was based off of a building from Spider-Man PS4, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I also built this bridge coming out of it. We didn't have this side of the city yet, but I knew that I wanted to have this bridge as like a, well, yeah, just as a footbridge to go across, and we'll see what that links up to probably in the next part of this, because I'm going to do this in parts. So there's this building, still to this day, one of the favourites. And we've got another bone building here built by Dylan. I quite like it. I think I prefer the other 2, but this is still a good one. And this little antenna building that I built. Now, and to this day, I don't know if I like this building or not. I like that it's got the different shapes and it's got a cool feature at the top. I think the bit that I don't like is it doesn't look quite right, only having 1 of these blocks and then 2 of these floors on top. I think it would look a lot better if we had 3 of these rather than just 1, or even if there were just 2. I think that would make it look better. I might change it one day, I might not. So going further back one block, we've got 3 buildings in this block, and we've also got what used to be an F1 car, but as you can see, a lot of the blocks were destroyed. The reason, and this is something that'll become apparent later on, a lot of buildings might have stuff missing is because this world, I believe it was on version 1.16 on Bedrock, but the tool that Dylan used to convert it to Java didn't have 1.16, so we lost all blocks from that update, which was annoying. Then at later points as well, we also lost a few bits like mobs due to changing between worlds due to corruption. So we've got here the Twin Towers, which are absolutely massive. They've grown a lot over time. So if we fly up to the top, and you can see we've correctly got one with an antenna, one without, although I think the one with the antenna, it might be the wrong one. I can't remember which tower had the antenna. These go to about 258 blocks, but the key thing is that ground level is not 64. So if we go all the way down, you see we're at minus 47, so these are about 300 blocks tall, which is pretty cool. We did used to have a building here, which is one that I built, as you can see by these sort of railings connecting to nothing, but unfortunately the building that I built here sucked. It was that bad. I tried so many times to make it look better, but I hated it that much, I just destroyed it, and I think we're better off without it. Originally as well, this tower used to be a bit more to the left, and then there was another building here, which is that grey one, which we'll get to in the next part. We decided to move it over just because we thought it made a bit more sense having the towers without too much nearby. We've still got this building here, but I feel like with it being a lot smaller, it fits in. So this was built by Ryan. This is called the USB building. It's the only building in the city to be built out of clay, and I think it looks fantastic. It's got a really interesting look, and I've just noticed that glass is very oddly not connected. There we go. But yeah, I really like this one, and we've also got, as you'll see as we go around, a lot of our friends' faces have been built in pixel art. So we're not going to touch any of these buildings because I'm going to go chronologically. So we'll go over to this side, and we've now got Central Park. So Central Park took us 1 day to build, and we were saying it's probably going to take us about a week. But there were, I think, the most of us working on this that we've ever had working on one project. We also used to have dogs named here, but it's Trollomus and Trollomatic. But as I've said, we lost mobs when we changed world versions, and I really like this park. It's not all flat as well. What's this? Freddy's Creeper. I've never seen this before. Freddy's Creep Penis? I've never seen that before. Doggo. Yeah, it's not all flat as well. I think if we go up along here, you can see we've got some terrain changes. We thought this would take ages, but we did it so quickly. I remember while it was being built, I flew up, and because we had about 5 other people working on it, you could just see bits starting to appear, and it was incredible. We've also got something iconic which can't not be talked about. Dylan was trying to build a snow golem to put in the park, and he did this, and he was proper getting annoyed. Why isn't it working? It's because he was using white concrete. And while the park was being built, I had a bit of an unfortunate mishap with the World Trade Center. Back when I still had a building here, I was trying to do a bit of copy and pasting, and I accidentally copied a World Trade Center into my building here, and I got so annoyed, and I was like, right, I'll fix it, and then I'll head off. I finished fixing it, and I said, do I want to actually do the thing that I was trying to do, or should I just go watch this TV show I was into at the time called Stargirl? I just thought, no, I'll finish the job that I was doing, then I'll go watch it. And then I did it again. So then I had to fix it again. I don't even remember what I was trying to do. I think I was just trying to move the tower, but the way that commands worked on Bedrock was a lot different to on what I use now on Java, and it was just a bit more confusing, so I just made a bit of a mistake doing that. So that was a fun mishap, but it got patched up in the end. So moving below then, we've got probably one of my least favourite blocks in the city, just because of the buildings we've got here. So this is meant to be Nakatomi Plaza, which Dylan really likes, and I think most of the other builders did. I hate it. I don't know what it is about it. I really don't like that building. Next to it, though, one that I built, which I really like, that we call the Watch Building, because on the map it sort of looks a little bit like a watch. I really like this one. It's got a bit of a unique design. I've not really done much like it since or before. But I really like that one. We've also got my first bone building here, which is my favourite of all the ones over here. Not because I built it, but I just think it looks quite grand. It was meant to be a mixture of like drunk bone, if it wasn't built while drunk, with that building's sort of roof design. Well, not design, but colour. And I really like the way this turned out. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Also, if we're going around and you notice any buildings are on fire, the reason for that is because when we lost building floors, the lanterns fell, which caused a fire to appear where they landed, which I think is quite funny. Here then we've got the Melos building, which was meant to be like a little remake of the original building. It was mainly just a meme because of Melos being the world's worst catering company, but that's by the by. Next to it we've got Dylan's remake of his third building, the light pink one, and I really like this one. Something which Dylan does with his buildings, which I've never really done, is having these little, like, I don't even know what you'd call them, but maybe balcony areas coming out. I've never really done anything like it. You've sort of got it on that building, and the Spider-Man PS4 building, but that's not really a balcony, it's more just the shape itself changing. I've never really done a design like that, but Dylan was really good at it. And the reason I don't really like this block so much is because this building, I think it just looks a bit mid. It's not really iconic. I never think of it when I think of my favourite buildings, or even ones that are memorable. There's this one Did I build this one? I'll be honest, I don't remember a lot of these buildings, just because they're that, as I say, mid. I don't remember who built them. This one, it has got a toilet block next to it. If I remember rightly, there used to be cauldrons in here with dyed water, but that feature wasn't in Java, I think, or it wasn't able to be ported over or something like that. We've got this building here which is kind of a redeeming factor for the block. I do quite like this one, the keg building. We've got a lot of buildings with the word keg, you'll see as we go around. We've also got this one here which I think looks quite nice. Again, it sort of suffers from the issue that this one has, where it doesn't stand out and it's not really that iconic. The block below then, you've got this grey building and a sandstone building, which were both built by me, and they were meant to be my takes on Dylan's original two buildings, the sandstone and the grey one. You might also notice down here, there used to be some redstone which just got decimated. I don't know what happened here or why, but yeah, we won't question that. We've got this building here which sparked a massive argument between Maddie and Dylan because they couldn't agree what colour it was. It didn't help that they were both drunk at the time, but I don't remember what colours they said, but yeah, they were not happy with each other. We've got one of our friend, who we don't really talk to anymore, Jamie, built Wayne Tower here. This is his only contribution to the city, but I think it's a pretty damn good contribution. I do quite like it. Moving around the side then, we've got Shitty Shops, which I absolutely love. This was built by Ryan, and I think this was on the first day. And there was a lot of stuff which didn't survive the first day, like I think there used to be an art gallery instead of Big O's Burgers there. It was my original cake shops gone. There used to be a plane up here as well. I can't remember, but I think that plane is there, but we just moved it. But I'm not too sure on that one. So going around back to this block then, we've got a building built by Freddy, which I quite like that we turned into a model train shop because we both quite like model trains. And we even put like stock from the different manufacturers, like Mainline, Hornby. What does this say here? Lima. What's this? Hornby and Hornby new stuff. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Next to it we've got a building which I built and I really like. It doesn't fit in with the area, but I think it looks really nice. Also the only building in the city made out of orange sandstone, if memory serves me correctly. Also red sandstone. So this is a building which is meant to be like a building in a place near where I live. Well, not too near where I live, called Barnetby. And it's the train station building. I don't know why the signs are broken as well. At some point I'm going to have to fix that. But yeah, we've got the Barnaby building there. Next to it, I'm going to be honest, I've got no clue who built this building. It could have been me, but it also could have been Dylan. I think the reason I think it was probably me is because Dylan hates the look of regular bricks in Minecraft and stone bricks. So I can't see him having built a building out of bricks, but also these bits at the bottom, I never put stuff like this on my buildings, which makes me think it might have been Dylan, but I've genuinely got no clue who built that one. It was definitely one of us too. Speaking of, I also don't know who built this one. Based on the design, I think it was probably Dylan, because he has built more buildings out of bone than I have. But at the same time, I have built a few bone buildings and I do quite like them. But yeah, I've unfortunately got no clue. So we'll pop back over this way then. So these buildings I missed out on 12 21st Street on purpose, just because I feel like they fit in with the buildings that we're going to go over next a little bit more. Dylan built these buildings manually. He didn't clone them or anything to be identical. One of these days, I think I am probably going to clone them and put them like side by side to see if they are identical or if there are any bits that you might have missed, because I reckon that they probably would have been somewhere. I mean, they're not perfectly meant to be identical because they're both meant to have the fire escapes on the same side, but... Oh wait, no, does it not have a... Does this one not have a fire escape? There we go, I've never... Wait. No, they have, but... What? Oh no, it's got fire escapes, they're both incomplete. I've genuinely never noticed that, and these have been here for over 6 years. So, here we've got FC Code built by Freddy, who did the museum, which is pretty nice inside. He did have redstone in it, where you could like press a button and you'd get a minecart with a chest to come in. When we were first building the city, I think originally we were saying like, are we going to decorate buildings and do it that way, but I think as time went on, me and Dylan like mutually agreed between us as the two only real contributors that we were just going to build buildings and not even worry so much about filling in space. Like we've got over here the market, we didn't really do stuff like that anymore. We just wanted to build buildings. There's a few bits and bobs here and there, but not much serious. One of these buildings was also built by Freddy. I did change the design quite a bit years after Freddy stopped playing, because originally this block was pretty empty and I decided just to fill space. I'd clone it in and add that bridge so they could look, I don't know, just look a little bit nicer, I felt, doing it that way. Moving down then, we've got a building built by me. I really like this one. It was quite an interesting design. It was... I don't remember how this came up in my search feed or my news or whatever, but I think this was a care home that had a fire. And I thought, oh, that looks quite nice, so I built it in Consortium. Opposite, we've got some more identical buildings that Dylan built here. He really had a phase for doing stuff that looked identical, which I think these look quite nice. We've also got a little basketball court here. For any Warzone players, apparently these buildings are out of Warzone. Personally, I never played Warzone because I thought it was shit, but Dylan built these out of Warzone. We've also got, just coming along the side here, more buildings. I don't remember who built these two either. I think, for reasons which I'll explain shortly, that these two were built by Dylan. Potentially, but at the same time, I feel like I could have. I just don't know. So these two blocks here that we'll go to then are not iconic, but they stand out as being the only blocks in a city where I don't have any buildings and everything here was built by the same person. So Dylan was building these, and while Dylan was building those, I was building that boat over there, which we'll get to soon. But again, you might notice we've got some more identical buildings. We've got these two here. We've got a little bakery here, which is quite nice. These are identical as well. And then again, for the Warzone players, we've got here the police station out of Warzone. Again, Dylan built that and he had to tell me about it because I didn't play Warzone because I didn't like it, but apparently that's out of Warzone. Not a lot of parking space though. Then we've also got some more like holiday homes around here. One of the things which I want to change at some point, and I don't quite know how I'm going to do it yet, I want to make it so these roads link up to each other, because you would not be able to spin a car around there without doing a 3-point turn, which is just ridiculous. I think my best bet would probably be to move this smaller building here, move these two along, and then connect the roads up, and then I could move that smaller building into that empty block there, and I will explain why that's empty very shortly. So coming back over to here then, we've got the petrol station from near where we live. I only noticed this Last year when I built a petrol station on the other side, both petrol stations we built, we forgot to build the little tower thing which tells you how much the fuel actually costs, and I just never noticed while doing this one. And we've got some more buildings over here, which I can't remember who built. I think Dylan did those two, and I did a nut house in the middle, as we call this one. And then flipping over to this side, I definitely built these two, because these are the blocks of flats at the very near where I used to live. I definitely built those two, because I remember building those two, the identical ones. And then here, we've got 3 buildings from our village where I used to live, and these do actually have decorated interiors. So we've got the pub here, which, in all fairness, it looks nothing like the pub. It's actually based off of where we live. We've got a nice outdoor seating area here. I also designed this emergency exit sign, which I think looks really, really nice. Coming out here, we've got a Costa, which is pretty nice. You might notice there are a fair few. I think the spelling mistakes are here because Freddie built this and he's dyslexic. So we've got what? Hot Shock, Late, Lemonade. And we've also got gender fluid toilets. Because I don't know, we used to think there was something funny about the words gender and fluid next to each other. Fair enough. Then here we've also got the shop where Dylan used to work. This was his first job. So we've got the cards here: cringe relationship, new job, new house, ages. Well, the cards here are a bit damp due to a massive leak. I can't remember what was meant to be on the shelves here. We've got the sign, did I turn off the gas? And then the gas. Very iconic. He built this himself, and because obviously he worked here, he was able to absolutely nail the design. You've even got the ladder, which was in the staff toilets, and spare stock out here, which is pretty cool. And then that door that we just saw as well just leads to a little tunnel to come out this way. So we'll move a bit further. Actually, no, before we move, we need to have a look at this building. So this is probably one of the most boring buildings in the entire city, because I built the outer skeleton of it, and it was literally just the white terracotta. It didn't even have windows or a door. And I lost the image that I was basing this off of, so I just had to make it up as I went along. So I've got no clue what this was supposed to look like, but it probably wasn't meant to look like this. I just had to come up with design. And we've also got a park here which used to have item frames with some items in which may or may not have been named heroin needles. And I think Dylan built this. So over here we've got a pretty empty block, and that is because all of the buildings here sucked. One of them that I built was my actual house over there, before I really understood the scale and proportion. I think the colours I'd probably stick with. I'd maybe change it from like the regular sandstone to smooth sandstone, so that looks a little bit better. But I don't really like the way that it looks. Well, yeah, we've got my old bedroom there. I should probably build my new flat building in here at some point as well. Maybe I'll put it in this block, who knows. The only things that did survive, Freddie built this like storage container unit facility, if that's even what it's supposed to be, which we think looked quite good, so we kept it. Then we've also got the car park here, which I think realistically at some point I'm going to make it span from that side to that side, just because it's not very big and it's meant to be like the beach resort area. So I think that would probably make a bit more sense. Again, we've got a building which I don't know why I got rid of the building that was here. I'm guessing it was because it didn't fit in. It was a building from Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout. There were a couple in that block as well as all of the builders of the world's actual houses. But we abandoned doing that. So we got some buildings on the beachfront here. We had a bit of a phase of red and blue. I want to say I built these, but at the same time, I might not have. I think I did though, and I think I built these ones as well. I think it was me. I know for a fact Dylan built, as I said, all of those because I was working on the boat over there. I think Dylan did these. As you can see, we're missing a roof here just because we built the roof out of blocks, which were in the newest version. We've got a park here as well, which is pretty nice. This memorial is a memory of the women who... Wait. Oh, sorry, I see how that's meant to work. This memorial is placed in loving memory of the brave men and women who gave their life in the Great Keg War of Consortium. So there we go. We've also got a little, I think this was meant to be a bakery that Dylan built, and a bakery here that Ryan built. Although, to be fair, I know one of these was built by Dylan and the other was built by Ryan. I can't remember exactly who built which. Now, we've moved on down to the beach. I think Dylan did the beach and all the decorations that are on it. There used to be towels that he'd made out of carpet. I don't know what happened to those. I'm really not too sure, actually. I've only just noticed that they're not here anymore. Then we've also got here what we call Santa Claus Pier, based off of Santa Monica Pier, which Dylan built, which I think's quite nice. Something he didn't notice was that it wasn't central, so originally this was only 2 blocks, and obviously 4. Then I just pointed out to him one day, you know that it needs to be either one block bigger or 1 block smaller to match here, because obviously we've got a middle here. We've also got a stupid road name of Santa's Runway, which it's funny, but I hate it, but I think it's just too iconic to change. One of the rules that we've sort of got when we do things like for the funny is if we make a mistake, it's funnier if we just keep it. So that's what we did. From here then, we're going to take a break from the city. We're just going to look at a few more things over this way, and we're going to fly over then to that behemoth over there, which is just the most amazing thing I've ever built. So to start off with then, we'll have a look to this boat. This boat was built by Freddy, and it was originally facing the wrong direction for some reason. It literally looked like it was sailing into the land here. I'm guessing that was probably because there wasn't as much land, so it might have made a bit more sense, but as we built up around it, we figured we'd just turn the boat around. We've also got the sea snake here, which has had its snow golem replaced. I don't know. We've got Mystic 7. I don't know why we called it Mystic 7, but we called that the snow golem Mystic 7. Then over here, we've got one of my favourite builds, and I cannot take credit for this. The design came from a YouTuber called Scorcher, who I absolutely love. He mainly does Halo builds, but he also did this, which is hijacked from Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And it's got a full interior, it's absolutely perfect. You can go down here and you've got the engine room, which you'd use to get across the map without getting caught in gunfire. We've got, if we come back this way, I'm testing my knowledge of the map now. If I remember rightly, you go up here, then you've got stairs here, and it should be a bedroom where you can shoot out from the front. There we go. And then around here we've got a ledge. Yes, perfect. And then on the other side it's where you've got the balcony. You've got the hot tubs on either side. Was this meant to be a hot tub, or was this just decking? I can't remember. And you've got the front of the ship here. Absolutely amazing. So while Dylan was building those 2 blocks, I was busy building this. So this all took us about a year. It was the final week of 2020, and you might remember in 2020, something happened involving a plague, and we were a bit annoyed because we were going to be heading back to 6th form. For context, we started building this world at the start of year 12. That was December 2019. As I'm recording, it's currently March 2026, and I finished 6th form, I finished university, and I'm now a teacher. So, end of the year happens, and we thought we really like Alcatraz and we want to build it. We were talking about what we do and how we do it, but we knew we'd have 6th form, we'd have to wait until the summer before we could build it. But then Dylan's dad comes in the room, and he just announces, Boris Johnson's just put us back into lockdown starting 2021, so we wouldn't be going back to school, so we decided, right, we're going to build Alcatraz. So the first building that we made was Cell House. Now, we scaled Cell House up. We wanted to do it at first exactly like measuring it on Google Maps and making it that long, but we thought that wouldn't really look as good, so we wanted to make it so the windows, because they were all meant to be the same size, we could space them out in the way that they actually looked. So like, this was meant to be 3, this was meant to be 3, but we didn't want to change it along here and have like 1, 2, 1, 2 pillars of bone going up. So we scaled that up a little bit, then we scaled Alcatraz up around it. We built this as the first thing. I'm pretty sure at one point as well, courtyard that we built here, we didn't realise was on an angle, so we had to go and change that. We also said when we first started building this, we weren't going to put it on angles, we'd just make it work, but then we thought, no, that looks terrible, and we wanted to do it properly. So we decided to put all the buildings on angles and have Cell House as the central piece that wasn't on an angle. So Dylan was doing a bit of work on Water Tower, which took him ages to build, even though it doesn't look like it would have taken that long. And while he was doing that, I was going to be doing these 3 buildings here. But one thing we realised is I can't make small buildings. I'm just not good at it at all. So what we decided to do was I would do terrain and Dylan would build these buildings, and I think that was probably for the best, because these just look absolutely fantastic. They're so, so good. And then while he was doing this, I was building this cliff, which was the start of my building terrain and being amazing at building terrain. Dylan even said, don't build that because we don't know how low down it's going to go, but it just so happened that I was in about 2 blocks of the correct distance going downwards, which was pretty good. So then I started building the terrain, wrapping it around here, started doing more of it this way. Did this. I think I built those gardens as well. I think Dylan might have helped. And then we did the roads coming down here, and we decided we were going to build docks next. So we started by building docks, not on an angle, but it was at this point where we decided, no, we have to build it on an angle or it's not going to look very good. So we spent a lot of time trying to just do an outline of where it should all go. In hindsight, I can think of the way that I would have done this now, which would have probably looked a lot better, and I could have mathematically determined it. So if in the future I ever have a bit of spare time and I decide to come back and redo Alcatraz, I know exactly how I'd work out where buildings go. All the heights are correct. The height of everything is absolutely perfect, but some of the buildings are a little bit askew to where they should actually be. And we spent a lot of time on Black Ops 4 copying the design before we realised that they'd actually got quite a bit wrong, mainly the elevation changes. This is a really hilly island, and Black Ops 4 just did not make it seem that way. I mean, just to give one example, this hill here is non-existent in Black Ops. It's basically flat. But yeah, we did it properly. So Dylan started building this dock area after the docks were built, and I started building the road going all the way up to here to... Dylan called it church. I can't remember what it actually was. And this is one of the times where we noticed it was a bit different in Blackout to how it actually should be. So in Blackout, there are actually 2 rooms here. There was this one here, and there was another one here. So these stairs were about halfway along. So what you'd do if you're being shot, you could come in here, jump out the window, come down the stairs, then you could hide underneath here, because this... Firstly, you couldn't access this room in Blackout, and there wasn't a room here. It was just the ground, so that was a decent hiding spot. We've also got up here where you'd buy a jug in the Mob of the Dead, just here. And then you could do a really good camping strat here with the Vitrolic Withering. As we look around Alcatraz, a lot of blocks are broken just from putting stuff on angles that we never got around to fixing. But I think it's about 95% complete anyway, so that's fine. Now, while we were building this, something amazing happened. So, we're both, me and Dylan, very big fans of Pokemon Go. And while we were building this, a wild Dragonite spawned in our village. So we ran out to catch it, and then we made this room the Dragonite Memorial Room. And that block I cut and I pasted, because it was the last block that I placed before we got the Dragonite. So this room forever will be known as Dragonite Memorial. We've also got this smaller little building next to it, which usually had a big green crate in Blackout, which was quite cool. So that was always a good place to get loot. This is a bit mangled. I don't really know what happened here. I think part of the reason of stuff breaking here is using slabs might have been a part of the problem, but I'm really not too sure. This building was Officers Club, which is a really good spot in Blackout. I've got no clue what happened to this building. I'm guessing there was a modded block that was used along here, but I'm really not too sure. Again, as well, like here, a lot of terrain is just mangled and missing. I don't know. I don't know what happened here. But the terrain, I think, here that is complete is probably some of my favourite terrain on the island, going around this way. It being my favourite, probably... Oh, excuse me, it probably stops around here just because I didn't put as much detail in. I think it gets better coming back this way, but because I didn't use slabs or stairs here, it's a bit bland. But we've got here the Alcatraz building and the powerhouse, which were horrific locations to go to in the game. I'm not sure, is this tunnel actually built? It is, I did not know we had that there. So you come out here, and then you've got Model Industries, which is a bit unfortunate, is really at risk of falling into the sea. It's basically on the edge here. It probably is going to go in my lifetime, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, we've got that here. Very, very jagged rocks. I do like the terrain that comes around here. Again, it stops at this point because you can see where I got lazy, but that's by the by. So here we've got new industries, and this again is one of those areas where Black Ops 4 just got it completely wrong. For a start, I think this is completely different. In Blackout, there was a bit down here that you could go to, whereas in reality it's just water. And I've also realised the water's at different levels, so I'll have to fix that at some point, but yeah, I don't think this existed in the way that it actually is. Also, our build doesn't really show the scale of this, but this is like a 45-degree angle at least in the real world. Blackout, it was nowhere near as steep or as long as this. I mean, for context, in Black Ops 4, you could jump from this building's roof onto this cliff without any problems. So I really don't know why they changed it, to be honest. I also don't know what the hell is going on here. I don't know what those blocks are doing. As well, because the Alcatraz building and a power building were last, we realised that sort of, because we've been positioning buildings just by eyeballing it, this one didn't line up at all. This path was meant to be straight, and I think it was meant to end, like, at that point, but it just did not work out that way because of the way that we positioned buildings. So again, if we were to do it again, I know how I'd do it differently. It's just a case of I don't really have time. I'm a teacher, I work. Dylan's got stuff he's doing as well, so it's just not realistic. So we'll move along this way then to probably my actual favourite bit of terrain that I've built. This is decent going along the side here, but again in Blackout they basically said that was flat, but my favourite terrain is this bit. I don't know why, I just think it looks perfect compared to what it actually looks like. The only thing I will do right now, this is the first change I made to Alcatraz in years, I'm just going to make that look a little bit less jagged. I think I might. Yeah, I like that. So this is ruins, and this is 100% accurate in my opinion. I don't think Dylan could have done anything differently. So usually when we play Blackout, I would land at the bit which I haven't finished, which is the only bit of the island that's actually unfinished and not just mangled due to like versions and mods or whatever. So I'd land there, Dylan would land here on the gun, which in this case is the S607, and you'd come in here. You're meant to be able to vault over here, but I think we built it so you could come up from the outside, and you could come up here, and then you could shoot whoever had landed after you. Now, something else that Black Ops 4 got a little bit wrong was just the scale of parade grounds, as this bit's called. It was a lot bigger than what they actually got it as. I don't know why they made it so much smaller, but they did. So yeah, the terrain around here, I sort of did, but then we changed the surface, and I never changed the terrain to go with it, so all of this really needs redoing, but I haven't got the time to do it, or the motivation, if I'm being completely honest, but yeah, I think all of Parade Grounds needs redoing, from ruins up until docks. Now, one area which gave us a bit of confusion was these cottages. We found so many different historical pictures which showed these cottages as having 2 floors and having 1 floors. what we think happened was they built 2-floored cottages, then they built 1-floor cottages, and then they knocked them down and built 2 floors again. We spent so long trying to figure this out. We looked at historical archives. We even reached out to historians to see if they knew. We just could not get a definitive answer, unfortunately. So yeah, we just settled for building those 4. And again, the scale of how wrong Blackout got it was this cottage here was meant to be basically here. And then the 4th cottage was like next to Parade. So yeah, it was meant to be a lot bigger than what Blackout actually did. And we've got Parade House here, which did have an interior, but it got mangled due to being put on an angle. So you'd always do your looting downstairs, and then what I liked to do was we go set a camp up here. So you'd put 1 barricade here, 1 barricade here, you'd have a trophy system, you'd have mesh mines on this window that people could jump through. Then you'd put razor wire on that window and razor wire on that window. That was always a really fun game if you could camp here. So if we head out here, then I believe the final building before I show some secret stuff is this building, which I think existed in Blackout, but they only made it a 1-story building. I don't even remember what we put here. I think we put snow golems with the names of the prisoners from the Mob of the Dead Call of Duty Zombies map in here. Again, they no longer exist. But under the map, which is where it gets quite interesting, we've got a lot of original buildings which we didn't want to get mangled. I've got no clue what this is. I'll pop a night vision potion just so you can see a bit better. But this is literally just an arrow made out of dirt. I don't know why that exists. So we've got the original Parade House here before it got mangled by turning it. I don't know what the hell this is here for, but we've just got new industries. I've genuinely got no clue what is happening there. And if we come over this way, we've got a secret which I'll show soon. We've got model industries, we've got another warden's house. So basically, when we put stuff on angles, we just wanted to make sure it didn't get destroyed. And then if I just show you this final thing, so originally this wall of dirt wasn't here, so you could access this building here. Alcatraz memorabilia. And then we put a sign here saying New Industries is going here. It is now here and I'm much calmer, so you could originally see New Industries just from here, because this wall didn't exist. And as you can see again, we've got a lot more missing grass. So the final thing I'll show you then is just a bit of Alcatraz trivia, which I built here. Dylan was always very good at finding my secrets, like as I was building them, even though we didn't have name tags on. So Alcatrivia, you come through here, and we've just got a few questions on Alcatraz. I forgot that happened when you broke tripwire. / game mode creative. So true or false, the original name proposed for Alcatraz was La Isla de los Alcatrazes, which translates to the Island of the Pelicans, a name given to the land by the man who discovered it. I believe it's true. Oh no, false apparently. This was actually the name for a separate island, but the two were switched by miscommunication. I've got no clue if that's true. But yeah. James A. Johnson, the first warden, allowed prisoners to have as much food as they wanted during meal times, as he knew that poor food was the main cause of prison riots. What a nice guy. I know that that is true. Yep, and he prided himself on the way that he ran prison rules in terms of food, because he knew he could keep a prison in good working order. I don't know, I think I had a mental breakdown while I placed those signs. I spelt something wrong, apparently. Al Capone played the banjo in the prison band, as well as being an overall nice guy. He just broke the law. That's definitely one way of describing Al Capone, but yeah, that is true. He also even helped out guards financially, not even as a bribe, but just because he respected them for doing their jobs. Fair enough. Justin Davidson's been to Alcatraz. That is false. 3 people have escaped from Alcatraz out of a total 14 over 5 attempts. I don't even understand what the English there is. 36 people attempted to escape the prison over 14 escape attempts. Only 3 escaped out of 4 involved in a plan, and they're still officially wanted today, meaning the government do believe that they escaped. And I believe down here is where the secret ends. Yeah, there aren't any more bits of trivia here. And as you can see, loads of stuff just never got deleted as we were building it, just because we just sort of wanted to build over it, to be honest, because we didn't want to destroy any of it. But yep, that's Alcatraz. It took us about a year to make. I'd say it's about 90 to 95% complete. And yeah, we built that instead of revising for our A-levels because Boris Johnson said that we weren't going to be going to school for a while. So that was very nice of him. So I'm going to end this here then as part 1 of the little tour. So we've looked at Alcatraz, we've looked at Hijacked. So everything that we've seen so far is pretty much just the first 2 years of progress. I think the only thing I didn't mention was we've got another shitty little pier there. But yeah, everything so far was from the end of 2019 until the end of 2021. And I will pick this up in the next part, which is where we're going to look at the second island. Because after we finished Alcatraz, the first thing that we did was go back over to this side. So we'll have a look at that in the next part. Goodbye, future me who's been watching this. Hopefully this has been some nostalgia, and if anyone else has been watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And part 2 will be available soon.